Welcome to the Easy Hard versus Hard podcast, the show where we challenge the way you think about the work you're doing, the effort you're making, and what really matters to you. I'm Bobby Shelton and I'm your host, and today we're diving into a topic that hits home for a lot of people, especially those who pride themselves on being hard workers. This topic is productivity. Let me ask you this. Have you ever had a day where you were busy from start to finish, but at the end of the day, you felt like you accomplished nothing? You're not alone. And it's probably not because you're not trying hard enough. It may have something to do with how we've been taught to define productivity. I think this definition is broken. In today's episode, we're going to take this definition apart and rebuild it. We'll look into why working harder doesn't always mean moving forward, how misaligned effort leads to burnout and frustration, and why real productivity starts with working on the right things and not just doing more of the wrong ones. If you've ever felt like you're stuck on a treadmill, running hard but getting nowhere, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome back to the Easy Hard versus Hard podcast. Today's topic, productivity, or the lack of productivity. Either way, I have found that productivity is one of the biggest problems people face when they start their easy hard versus hard journey. Productivity is often misdefined in society, and I think this definition that has been embedded in our head has helped shape us into a trap, if you will. Productivity is often measured in how much did I get done, or how effective am I with the time that I spent. And then oftentimes we hear to get more done, you got to spend more time. This is kind of counterintuitive, right? If you're unproductive in the time that you have now, what is spending more time doing something going to do for you? Probably make you more unproductive, right? If you're turning in today, there's probably a chance that you've dealt with this in the past. You're working hard, probably harder than ever, but you're still feeling unproductive. Why is that? Again, I think it goes back to the definition of productivity that we've all been told. So we push harder, we plan more, we pack our calendars. Somehow in our culture, we've gone from getting things done to doing things as a measure of productivity. This is even heightened when we do the wrong work, right? The work that doesn't matter to us. And we're out there, doing this for this person, doing this for the other person. And it distracts us from the work we want to do. And therefore, because we really want to do something, but we're not doing it, our minds are like, whoa, you're not productive, or you're not doing enough. This leads to getting stuck. And ultimately, doing more isn't productivity. It's more of a trap. Productivity isn't just an output. It can't be measured in the hours that we worked or the things on our checklist that we knocked off. Real productivity will come when you align the efforts and work that you do with your desired outcome. Let me say it another way. Real productivity is the alignment between your effort and your desired outcomes. The key here is your effort, not the outcome. We're such an outcome-based society. You'll hear so many people talk about goals and I've got to do this, or I've got this ideal. Well, if you're only thinking about the goal, you're thinking about the future. You can't control the future. You can only control what is now, and that's the effort you're putting in. So in my theory, once you find what your hard is, what you truly want to do, you gain this alignment. Sure, you may have a goal. I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to get this degree, or, I want to build this business. Those are great. But notice all those goals that I just said, none of them have a timeline. Timelines make you feel unproductive. Why? Because you're measuring against an ideal. You're measuring against a dream. You're not measuring against the progress that you're doing. So many people say, enjoy the process. I tell you what, that used to drive me nuts. I'm sure it has many of you too. What does that mean? Well, once you align yourself with the work that you want to be doing, the process then becomes enjoyable. I can't tell you in words or talk about it enough. You're going to have to experience this for yourself. Once you find your hard and you start pursuing it every single day, It's more about the process, not the outcome. There's a lot of theories out there, improve 1%. There's a 10X out there. Throw those all away. You've got to just do something, right? Sometimes when you're just getting started on a new endeavor or a change, starting alone is productivity. Take that first step. Go out there and do it. When we allow productivity to overcome our thoughts, emotions, and we start thinking negatively about ourselves, then it's very damaging. Imagine if you could wake up every day, go to sleep every night, happy with the work that you accomplished. Maybe you decided to write a book, and one day you really didn't get much done as far as writing on a page. Were you unproductive? Well, only you can say that. But how about if you thought about it while you were walking your dogs or read an article that sparked some interest in you? That's productivity, right? You can't measure it on a page. You can't do a word count. You can't see it on your screen or on your notebook, however you write, but yet you were productive. Once you start finding these little inch stones of productivity, if you will, you're going to feel better. You're going to start seeing momentum. You're not going to need a motivational video to get you going. You're not going to need that third, fourth, fifth cup of coffee. When you wake up and you go to sleep, you have a sense of what matters. Maybe this is productivity, right? A lot of people think that productivity comes with better time management. It's a very hot topic today. There's all kinds of methods out there. Many of them I've tried myself. They're great. If you're struggling with getting your day planned and getting all your obligations and duties scheduled and having time for you to go work on your hard, I encourage you to check them out. But don't confuse time management or calendar planning with productivity. It's just another measurement and tool that we use to help ourselves get better. I do think that your calendar often reflects where you're spending your time, and it could be a good tool to use to assess where you're at, which we'll talk about later. Self-assessment, self-evaluation, and the work that you're doing and kind of seeing where your efforts are. But other than that, a calendar is not your productivity. It's just a calendar. You probably don't have a time problem. You probably have a self-discipline problem, a misalignment with your hard problem. So many times in life, we blame something as the cause, but really it's not the cause. It's just an excuse to give ourselves a self-affirmation that, hey, I'm doing the right thing. I just don't have time, right? Well, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. As someone who works a lot, one of the things that annoys me the most is people saying, oh, how do you have time for that? When do you sleep? Well, I don't need to sleep some days because I need to go out and do this work. It's my passion. It fuels me. Now, sleep is very important. Don't get me wrong. We should all sleep, and that's something you can't do for very long. So don't be overproductive and, have your health suffer or your well-being suffer. I'm certainly not saying that. What I am saying is you can do more than you think you can. So many of us use so little of our capacity because everyone tells you they're busy. Everyone tells you they're overscheduled, and many of us are. But I would argue that we're not overscheduled. We're just doing too many of the wrong things. It's okay to say no to something. It's okay to walk away. When I was getting my coaching certification, one of the instructors said, when you say yes to something, you say no to many things. But when you say no to something, you say no to one thing. I really encourage you to take that in and think about that at time management. If you don't have time or you don't have the energy or you really, most importantly, you don't have the desire to do something, it's okay to say no. No one's going to get mad at you if you don't go to this event or don't take on this project or this volunteer work. Again, this goes back to our first episode where we talked about sometimes you have to be selfish. And until you get your productivity to the level that you want, I think you have to be more selfish in the early stages than you'll have to be later, at least in the aspects of taking care of yourself. So time management, I understand people's concern with it. We can all probably be more efficient. But once you find what you want to do, efficiency will come. Productivity will come because the time that you spend doing what you want to do will be so powerful to you. Another problem that people bring up for productivity is procrastination. I believe procrastination is not a mental challenge to go and do what you're trying to do. It is an escape from something else that is bothering you. In the Army, when you qualify on your rifle, there's multiple distances. There's a 50-meter target, 100, 150, 300, right? Well, what's the most important target for you to hit if you're actually in combat? It's that 50-meter target most likely, right? Because it's the one that's most present. It's the one that can do the most harm to you or your troops. Take care of your 50-meter target. If you don't, it's going to take over your mind and you're always going to be thinking about it, and it's going to bring you negativity, dissatisfaction. That causes procrastination. Procrastination is rarely keeping you from filling out the report or doing the book or whatever you're going after. Procrastination is merely an escape from this other thing that you haven't taken care of. So part of productivity is take care of the things that are mentally taxing you. Going back to time management for a second, I read a book one time and the gentleman said time management is a lot like if you're at a play and you're watching 100 actors on the stage. Well, you can't know what to focus on. You can't figure out what the plot of the play is. But let's say you go up to get a snack or use the restroom or something. You come back and there's only 2 actors on the stage. Well, then it becomes very clear to you. That's what I encourage you to do in dealing with procrastination. Clear your plate. Don't let that subconscious mental strain prevent you from doing what you want to do. This is also a very important step when you get into the hard, and you'll find it becomes easier. The things that don't matter, you're not going to be doing it anymore. You're not going to be focused on it. You're going to be more stoic in your approach and control what you can control and just let the other stuff be noise. So with procrastination, it definitely can influence the way you think about productivity. So start finding ways that you can avoid procrastination. There's a lot of tools and tips for whatever is, your biggest procrastination, whether it's your phone, your computer, whatever. You can put it in other rooms. But the real thing you've got to focus on is, why am I procrastinating? And then, is it influencing how I view my productivity? The last thing I want to talk about with productivity is identity. A lot of people identify as something, and therefore that identity that they've given themselves gives them a feeling of unproductivity. Let's go back to the workout example again. If you're trying to get in shape, so many of us will compare ourselves to someone like LeBron James or Michael Jordan in his prime or any of these professional athletes that are at the peak of their performance. When you identify as, let's say, a basketball player in this example, you're not going to be Michael Jordan. So if you measure your work towards theirs, you have no idea whether you're being productive or not, right? Because you see them at their peak, but you didn't see them in the hours and days and years that they spent in a gym, the hours of runs at 4 a.m., all the things that they all did to get to where they are. But yet, in our minds, we see them as the pinnacle, and so that's what we want to achieve. Well, when we put too high of a standard on ourselves, and this goes back to the whole goals and unrealistic goals and all these, you're going to find that you're never going to be productive in your mind because you're never going to meet that standard. So how do you become productive? Think about the journey. Let's say you want to be the greatest basketball player in the world. Great. What are you doing about it? If you go out and shoot hoops for an hour a day where you shot 0 hours the day before, that's productive, right? You're making that inch stone like we talked about earlier. You've got to go slow. You've got to put in the reps, and you cannot compare yourself to everyone else. There's a lot of tribalism and social identity in the world today. I would love for everyone to just get rid of that. Find what you want to do and find your path. Now, follow the paths of others. I mean, a lot of great books and resources out there about how someone became who they are. But what none of these tell you is how many hours they spent, what they gave up, how many days that they felt despair, right? There's a saying that says instant success takes a lot of time. Wow. Do you think people who reach success would call themselves unproductive? I'm sure if you sat down and they were honest with you, there were probably periods of time where they felt unproductive. But I guarantee you, when they found what they wanted to do and went at it with all their heart, just doing the effort that day, they probably found a sense of productivity and they felt pretty good. In closing, there's a metaphor that I like to use with my clients. You can run on a treadmill all day, but you'll still be in the same place. Now think about taking a hike. Hiking is slower, sometimes harder, more intentional as you have to watch each step, but each step that you take will move you forward. If you compare the results of a hike to the results of a treadmill, they're going to be vastly different. You'll probably make a lot further progress on a treadmill as far as mileage goes than you will on a hike. But comparing these two doesn't make sense. They're two different activities. Your hard is more like a hike than a treadmill run. It may take time, It may take more effort and concentration, but at the same time, it's moving you forward as long as you take that first step. I used to chase the amount of time I worked as a badge of honor. I wanted to put more hours in than anyone. In the area that I live in the Northern Virginia, DC area, people love to brag about how many hours they worked. Well, this was like getting on a treadmill. Running for, an hour was equivalent to working for 12, 15 hours. How productive was I? How far did I come during this process? Here's my challenge for you this week. Take an audit of how you view and perceive your productivity. Do you feel productive? Do you wish you were more productive? Once you have this thought, further dive in and see if you can find why you are feeling this lack of productivity. Once you get to the core of what's giving you the perception of being unproductive, then and only then can you start making changes and start seeking the hard and eliminate the easy hards from your life. In today's episode, we talked about productivity, which is one of the 3 problems that I see blocking people from fully going after their hard or understanding the concept. In the next episode, we'll talk about another problem, which is finding your purpose. If today hit home with you, I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a message or follow along on Apple or Spotify. And if you think someone else could benefit from this podcast, please share it with them. The greatest gift you could give to me is by sharing this and getting the information out. And if you're interested in learning more about the easy hard versus hard, you can follow me on LinkedIn, where I publish a weekly newsletter where I discuss some of these topics and write about other things that are going on as I write the book. Until next time, I'm Bobby Shelton. Keep working to find your hard and doing the work that actually matters.